There's children that went home today without parents arriving.
This is not the Carpinteria that I grew up in.
Of 5-year-olds asking me how to read their rights through a locked door.
Maybe worse than seeing the fire come down the mountains.
This is an emergency unlike any in recent history.
This country does not feel safe.
These are stories from Carpinterians responding to an ICE raid in Carpinteria that injured local officials and is creating terror in our small town. What follows are highlights from the special meeting of the Carpinteria City Council.
What are those children going to do without their parents? If they're lucky, if they had a family plan already in action. Many of them, I assume, do not. No one prepares for their family to be ripped apart.
And today, Carpinteria was invaded by the federal government in a military operation orchestrated by ICE and supported by the California National Guard. They're testing the waters. They're practicing mobilization. They're practicing mutual aid with other agencies, and they're practicing military tactics on our streets.
I don't know if you have ever had to tell your children that their other parent is never coming home or is not coming home. But unfortunately, a few months ago, I had to do that for my children, not because my husband was deported, but because he passed away from a sudden cardiac event. Community members of Carpinteria and their children who are having to face that, not having their parent at home, not having that safe person to tuck them in at the end of the night.
I was born during the Second World War. I know I don't look that old, but I am. In the 1930s, the Nazis had the brown shirts. In the Trump era, America has ICE agents.
Thank you for your comments.
We need to see ourselves in others. And to that end, I suggest that what we need is story. And when I say story, I mean storytelling. I'm so sick of people coming on Facebook or on social media or down at a local bar or restaurant telling me that these are rapists and murderers. My God, these are our neighbors. These are beautiful people. I want to hear a story of the person that was taken today.
Everyone, my name is Dr. Johnny Williams. I am a local licensed trauma psychologist, and I'm here to speak about the impact of the impending mental health crisis in our community. My uncle was detained and deported in Phoenix, Arizona, on his way to work. Like myself, he's an enrolled member of the Navajo Nation. Racial profiling and illegal detainment perpetuates fear, anxiety, and PTSD. I'm here to speak about the impact of trauma also on the body. Our children are at risk of developing PTSD and other comorbid conditions because the body does not differentiate between real, perceived, or anticipated violence.
Regarding these masked armed troops without badges, without recognizable uniforms, sowing fear and terror in our little community. And when is law enforcement protocol involved breaking a window of a truck of someone going to work that happened to someone that works for me that lives in a neighborhood here in Carpinteria who was profiled, pulled out of his vehicle, and taken off to detention in front of his young kids and wife. And he's a hardworking, good resident of Carpinteria, a family man.
So what happens when you allow secretive government forces to disappear people without oversight? We've seen this in history, we've seen it in other countries, and we should not allow it here. History will remember what we allowed, and we must say very clearly that we will not be silent about this, and we will not allow this.
I now have to witness mi gente walking the street with their head on a swivel. It's not a safe town anymore, and I want to make that happen again. I want us to have the confidence with our community. I graduated high school 2 years ago. I should not be scared for my people, for my grandparents. I have family who have papers, but because they are the brown-skinned and they do look a little bit different, they're not blonde and blue-eyed. This is not the Carpinteria that I grew up in, and this is not the Carpinteria that my parents, my father, has experienced, my grandparents, my aunts, uncles. This is a village. Now stand the F up, please. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I refuse to stay silent. I refuse to keep living in fear. I refuse for my children to live in fear as well. Due to previous generations, I'm able to be here. My daughter is able to have a better life. And we just cannot stay silent and live in fear anymore.
I'm here to speak on behalf of my brown-skinned neighbors and friends who live in fear every day of their lives. Unmarked vans and masked men grabbing people off the street without due process is what happens in fascist countries and should not be happening in the United States of America. In my opinion, these thugs are no better than the Gestapo. I'm here to say that these people are our friends. They're our neighbors. They're the people who put food on our tables. They go to school with our children. They matter. And it's up to us to say, they matter. You are safe here.
Immigrants are the lifeblood of our community. They are our employees. They shop in our stores. They pay taxes. We need to acknowledge who we are as a community and support our immigrant population.
And I am a teacher at Carpinteria High School. And I can tell you that already in the spring semester, when ICE raids were happening in California and Bakersfield, that every single day when my students would come to class, they were stressed. But they cannot learn and sit and listen to lessons and interact with each other and have a happy, healthy education in childhood if they are worried about their mom, their dad, their cousin.
The U.S. should be the land of the free, not the land of fear. I think that Carpinteria should join the other 8 cities and LA County in suing the federal government.
And I'm here representing La Casa de la Raza. But I'm here to ask you to consider funding this emergency crisis that we have in front of us as a mental health proclamation.
I was there to bear witness to what occurred in our community. I was pushed to the ground by ICE agents. I can tell you that the flashbang grenades that they threw at us will have a lasting effect on this community.
Somebody earlier made a comment about sharing stories. I'm sorry, I'm very emotional, but I work for a restaurant group in Santa Barbara, and here's some of the stories you can tell. They work 2 and 3 jobs for their families. I'm the payroll manager, and I was passing out checks, and one of my workers asked if she could get her husband's check because she didn't want her husband to have to come down to pick up his check. Because of the ICE agents, and they're no longer walking to work, but they're getting rides, paying for Ubers, and trying to be very careful about getting to work. To see this show of a community coming together to stand for people who can't stand for themselves is really amazing. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. En Spanish, para mi gente inmigrante, siento su dolor. Siento su miedo, pero gracias a ustedes yo estoy aquí.
Every day I receive calls from families going hungry. I hear the voices of parents skipping meals so their children can eat, of single mothers deciding between rent and groceries, of 5-year-olds asking me how to read their rights through a locked door. Please don't look away. Please stand with us.
And I never thought I would see the National Guard on Foothill Road. And it wasn't because there was a riot. It was because they wanted to start something. And there was no reason for them to be here.
And if people really are here illegally, the problem is clearly that we've made it too difficult to do it normally.
You know, 150 years ago, if somebody with a mask walked down the street and kidnapped someone or took them away, they would be caught, they'd be tried, they'd go to jail. Times have kind of flipped around, haven't they? Now we have an administration that is hiring extra people just to do exactly what is not only morally but constitutionally illegal.
I'm also here on behalf of kids, of 65 kids that I have each day that don't have a voice, and their families that are too afraid to come here to say anything and speak in front of you. We have kids that are, you've heard it before, we have kids that are going home with no parents. And that's a hard one for us to take home.
Because our military is meant to protect us, and our community members are not feeling safe. This country does not feel safe. Thank you.
We will now move on to Zoom comments.
My name is Trisha Humbles, and I am a school counselor at Canalino Elementary here in Carpinteria. I'm sorry that I cannot be there tonight, and I want to say that I'm disgusted and furious and heartbroken over what happened today at the Glass House. I just wanted to share that I visited both families of two students of mine that are going into second grade yesterday. They are distraught. Their moms are in shock. They do not have access to their husband's accounts, which contains all of their income. They don't know how they're going to pay rent. One of them hasn't even been able to speak to their husband since he was detained last week. I also wanted to thank really quickly Yesenia's Boutique, La Tiendita, Panderia Casa Don Roje. They donated groceries to both families yesterday.
This today was a horrible event. It was maybe worse than seeing the fire come down the mountains towards our town because it was directed against us by other human beings. This administration is about fear and chaos and division, splitting us in different parts. And because when we're apart, we're vulnerable. And I believe that the fear and chaos that's being sown is on purpose to declare martial law and possibly suspend the next election. Anyway, those are just my personal thoughts.
50% of our community is Hispanic. And because of that, we are united. And one of the best things that we have is that in our favor.
The Sheriff's Office would like to remind the Carpinteria community that we do not participate in immigration enforcement, including assisting with operations, nor do we interfere. Today, federal agents conducted an operation in the 5600 block of Casitas Pass Road. The Sheriff's Office was notified of the operation just prior to its onset for these deconfliction purposes. We did not respond to assist with this operation.
All those in favor? Aye. Aye. And with that, we've passed the proclamation of commitment to California Values Act and to proving a safe and welcoming community for all residents, visitors, and workers.
No matter what, I agree that I want to hear from the people who are on the ground and who are dealing with these families and communities about what they need and how the city can support them, as opposed to us just having money that, that we don't yet know where the best place for it to go is.
We really need more money, probably, I would say quadruple the money that you're considering.
We heard word that one of the people that was taken was a single mom of 2 kids. Now, what is going to happen to those 2 kids? We received a call from one of the moms that we work with who has a 4-year-old and she has a 9-month-old. She was distraught because her husband works around that area. We visited her at her house. She was crying. She didn't know what to do. And she told us, what happens if he's gone? What am I going to do?
$5,000 seems like chump change compared to the need. I know the city's finances are not unlimited, but it certainly seems that we need to dig a little deeper.
Teresa Alvarez, Executive Director of the Carpinteria Children's Project. I think the possibility of maybe some matching funds. I think there are some wonderful foundations here in Carpinteria that, again, we have really great relationships with and we're happy to have conversations with.
Your community is under attack. Our community in Santa Barbara is under attack. I watched an Army soldier physically pick up my mother and my tia today and remove them and nearly throw them on the ground because they were trying to protect community.
And when those women are immigrants, when they're brown, black, or undocumented, their worth doesn't diminish. It multiplies because they are fighting to survive when we are designed to forget them. And they braid hope into their daughter's hair and they stitch courage into their son's heart.
I'm deeply concerned that the flashbangs were thrown into the crowd, one aimed directly at Vice Mayor Solorzano, injured her and Council Member Mayor. These events have left me with the impression that our local police force unfortunately did not have our community safety as its first priority today.
I went up to the car where the man was being harassed by people, by ICE, and, seeing that and me telling him, like, no diga nada, was really difficult, And then being able to see close enough for me to be able to make eye contact with him and him just nodding his head at me and still, was told to, look straight ahead and having the ICE agents break his window and then forcibly take him out of his car and then take him to God knows where.
And I would strongly urge you to direct the sheriff to please do more than just say, I'm going to make a phone call to ICE to find out if they're in the area. We need to restore our relationship with the Black and brown community, the minorities in Carpinteria, and the sheriff. And so I would ask that you please at least direct the sheriff to, at minimum, identify, go investigate and identify if these people are actually ICE agents. Because with the increase in rhetoric that this administration has, we know that people are going to impersonate ICE agents. There will be bounty hunters. And maybe we haven't seen that in our community right now, but I would like us to prevent that.
Request verification of federal agent credentials by sheriff's deputies.
And the other comment by the sheriff's office was that it was like an officer safety issue inhibiting the communication. Let's be 100% clear. There's nothing at all that happened today involved an officer safety issue. It was a public safety issue in a chaotic and very volatile environment created by federal officers and the federal military operation.
My oldest boy is in high school. He has so many of his Latino friends who stopped attending school because they are afraid. And if they are American citizens, they're afraid for their families. They're afraid of being attacked. This is terror, and it aligns with everything city government focuses on: public safety, stable housing, mental health, youth services, rent relief. This is an emergency unlike any in recent history. And in terms of Californian history, it reminds me of the Mexican repatriation in the 1930s, when the government deported as many as 400,000 Latinos, the majority of whom were American citizens. This administration has said that they want to enact the largest mass deportation event ever.
It sounds like an interest in understanding more about the sheriff's role in this, and I think it'd be great to maybe give them an opportunity, not now, but maybe at like a future community meeting or something, to be able to talk through some of the limitations that they face, and then some of the ways that maybe they can be more responsive to what residents are asking right now.
An ad hoc committee really seems like the way to go to act swiftly or quickly. And similar to what I also said earlier was the legislation, and then, of course, the lawsuit as well.
I, too, look forward to finding out more about joining the lawsuit. Reminder of how we got through COVID as a community was by a network of nonprofits. And I think that our job could be to equip them appropriately, as Jamie Dimon said, to be able to nimbly prepare and respond and react. So,
I move to direct staff to return with policies and actions for the City Council in consideration of the items that have been presented, discussed, including an ad hoc.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to say thank you to the community for sticking with us. Like I said, when we first started, this has been a tough week, I think, for a lot of the community. But I also feel like we made some really good headway as a community, and I hope, as a city, and I hope the community feels that we are in step with you all. We will officially adjourn the meeting at 10:34. Thank you.
We built your houses. We are building their streets. We are constantly everywhere, anywhere that you guys need us. We're always there. We're always a helping hand.
I feel like so bad for everybody who can't come out of their own homes and like they can't speak up for themselves. So we're all speaking up for people who can't speak up for themselves.